to try and duck it in the way that he did and hide behind process. We were squirming. The backbenchers on the Labour benches were just going, oh, for God's sake, get on with it. Just admit it.
And here we see the most catastrophic lapse in judgment you can imagine. I think it's clear the Prime Minister should do the right thing and step down.
But should he step down?
I think that he needs to think very hard about what is in the country's best interest and what is in his party's best interest.
It's a veiled yes. Barry, you're nodding every time Nick says something appalling about the handling by the Labour government of this affair. How appalling has the handling been by the Labour government?
Paddy, look, the first thing I want to say is, having listened to the Jouffres, we need to listen to victims and not to the voice of the gilded elite who think they're untouchable.
Is that what the Prime Minister did when he appointed Peter Mandelson?
I think the Prime Minister today made an admission which I think everybody in that chamber knew he had to make, but which he resisted making, as Nick says, twice already. And you cannot hide behind process and say, well, this is the process we followed. He should have come straight out and he should have said, look, I need to say I made a big mistake here, a mistake of judgment. I believed the lies that I was told, and that is on me. I got it wrong. Now, he could have then said whatever he wanted to about the reasons he thought Mandelson had a good relationship with Trump, or whatever he wanted to say. But to try and duck it in the way that he did and hide behind process, we were squirming. The backbenchers on the Labour benches were just going, oh, for God's sake, get on with it. Just admit it. The public look at this and they say, yeah, typical politician, won't tell you straight.
Yes. Arlene, did you agree that this Labour MP is telling Nick his authority seemed to ebb as he would not answer Kemi Badenoch's question 1, 2 or third time?
I think when he answered it, when he finally said, yes, I did know that he had still a relationship with Epstein, there was almost a palpable, you know, and you could feel his authority going away at that time. And I mean, just to pick up on Barry's point, this whole sorry saga is about powerful men in positions of authority and women and girls being trafficked across the world, it seems, to be used and abused. And very, very sadly, Virginia Giuffre is not here today. She took her own life, presumably because of everything that had happened. So I think absolutely the victims have to be centre stage in this whole thing, and then the political farce that is going on at the moment about who knew what when comes secondary.
But can I say that all of guests here want to talk about victims, and we've tried to respect in the earlier part of the conversation.
Sure.
But can I ask you, Zack, to talk to me about the Prime Minister? What contrast would you make to the man at the dispatch box today and the DPP pursuing Boris Johnson with his moral compass pointing north?
Well, when Keir Starmer was head of public prosecutions, it was all about his judgment, his forensic ability to ask the right questions. And here we see the most catastrophic lapse in judgment you can imagine. I think it's clear the Prime Minister should do the right thing and step down, because actually the rut runs right throughout the Labour government. This is a man, in Keir Starmer, who knew that Peter Mandelson was friends with one of the most known paedophiles in the world, was still staying in his apartment, and he brought him into the heart of government solely because, I imagine, he thought he could whisper in Trump's ear.
And did you say that then? Because a lot of people didn't say that then. It was in plain sight, that issue. I mean, is Keir Starmer's days numbered because of how it looks now, Barry?
Look, this was our manifesto, right? One man, one word. Change. That's what we promised. That was the whole of what we as the Labour Party promised this country. Change. This looks more like the same.
Should he step down?
I think that he needs to think very hard about what is in the country's best interest and what is in his party's best interest.
It's a veiled yes. You're saying that You don't want to say it, but you're saying it with your eyes. Arlene, you led a party. What flex point is this for the leader of this one?
Well, I have to say, once you start losing your colleagues around you, and once your colleagues are saying the sort of things that were being said today, then you really have to think about whether you have the ability to lead from the front again.
Can I say I think there's other serious consequences? So Palantir, this is the spy tech firm, $260 million last month, the biggest defence budget in UK history. That was lobbied by Global Counsel, which was Peter Mandelson's lobbying group, alongside Wes Streeting, the Health Secretary, close friend of Peter Mandelson. I've written to the Health Secretary today to say we have to break that contract. It also has crucial data on our healthcare system. So the idea that this defence company from the US has its fingerprints all over our healthcare system alongside Peter Mandelson is a whole range of questions that need answers urgently.
Let me be clear. Keir Starmer as a project came about from somebody who had been the protege of Mandelson and who is now the Chief of Staff in 10 Downing Street. There's connectivity, and to use your historical analogy, the guy at the top is not the only thing here. There are barons, and when the barons begin to feel that they're under pressure, it's a very dangerous time for the Prime Minister. And there is so much that is dependent upon what Mandelson, through the Chief of Staff, then has initiated, and the people who are now in positions as ministers that have been dependent upon that whole process.
Okay.
That means this is not just one man at the top.
But
you're talking about an aristocracy within the party.
You've named the Chief of Staff in particular. Does changing Morgan McSweeney, that's who Barry's talking about, is that a way out?
No, and also I'm concerned to see reports today that Morgan McSweeney and Peter Mandelson were vetting the new Labour MPs. That means we've got Labour MPs in Parliament that are associated with this whole sordid mess. Now, that's not to say every single one of them isn't a decent person or doesn't have values at their heart, but it does raise questions about both Morgan McSweeney and Peter Mandelson and their interference in this. But ultimately, it does come back to Keir Starmer. There was a report, I believe, in the New Statesman that said Peter Mandelson, Morgan McSweeney doesn't breathe without Peter Mandelson knowing about it. So again, questions.
Yes, there's questions about that, but there's also questions, and I'll be very interested to see what comes out of the papers and the emails and all of the documents that come about, because not only what Zack has mentioned about the company that Peter Mandelson was involved in, what is going on in terms of China, Russia, the Chagos Islands, dare I mention that? Does that come up? Why is there such a push to give away part of our British family? I want to know what's in those documents. So I have to say the Intelligence and Security Committee have a huge job ahead of them in terms. I thought it was absolutely ridiculous to say that they weren't going to give originally documents relating to international relations, when at the end of the day this was about appointing our ambassador to the United States. I mean, that was a ridiculous thing to try and hide away from.
Lots has been said in anger about the Chagos, but no one else has said they're part of the British family, Arlie. They're part. They're the British overseas territories. They are very much part of the British family. Oh my goodness, Paddy, you can't say that. I can say that.
You cannot say that.
We can come back to it.
You cannot say that.
What we need to say is, what's your intel from the Labour MPs tonight?
So just very briefly, to be fair to the Labour Party on what Zack said, Joanna Baxter, who's a long-standing member of the NEC, says that it's not true that Peter Mandelson vetted the candidates. But Barry was talking about danger to the Prime Minister, and I do have to say I spotted that in the chamber. So I made a point of going in for the last half an hour of the debate. Angela Rayner was sitting there, and her face and the sea of Labour MPs, they were sitting largely in silence, they were stony-faced, and they looked angry. But obviously I made a point of coming out of the debate to canvass opinion, and these are the sort of opinions I picked up, Paddy. So a minister said to me, it's shameful, it's embarrassing. A backbencher said to me, you could see the Prime Minister shrinking in front of our eyes. I don't see how he survives. And this is from a loyalist. This is so sad. I think power is moving irretrievably to the Labour left.
Oh, for God's sake. For God's sake. And if that is what Labour loyalists think that this is about, then where is their loyalty to? That's what I want to know.
Because
this is not a fight between right and left within the Labour Party.
Yeah.
It's much bigger than that, and if they don't get that, then they need to get and smell the coffee.
Because it's about judgment, Arlene. I think the point everyone here is making, because time and time again, Keir Starmer's judgment as Prime Minister has been brought into question, which under our system, the adversarial system, he has been snookered by Kemi Badenoch on where his judgment was.
Yeah, and I think that's a very fair question, and I think she was on top form today, if I may say so, in terms of how she performed in comparison to the Prime Minister, who looked incredibly under pressure, so much so that his hand was shaking at one point. So the man is under incredible pressure. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But I do agree with Barry that he should have been upfront around what he knew instead of having to be questioned about it in the fashion that he was.
I should just say on that point of loyalty, since we've been on air, I've had a Labour MP texting me saying we need to be loyal to the Prime Minister. Too many of my colleagues, he said, are addicted to opposition. But just to continue what I picked up, one minister said to me, we're smiling, but it's delirium. And then another backbencher said, that was Keir's worst performance at PMQs. I don't see how he comes back from this. He is toast. Now, I began by saying the two words associated with today are he knew. One former member of the government said to me, no, the two words that should be associated with today are Morgan out. Get rid, they're saying, of Morgan McSweeney, the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff, who was instrumental in that appointment. And I have to say, I've learnt tonight that Starmer loyalists have been going to the whips and saying, we've helped you, you need to help us, you need to help the Labour Party, get him out and put him in charge of Labour campaigning.
We're being warned against going straight to politics, but bluntly, is this sort of chaos good news for the Greens?
I really don't think it's a good thing for the country, actually. And to see, I don't doubt for a second Barry's honesty here in terms of how much rage he's feeling. And I think this is what the country's feeling. I think it's one of the rare times, actually, it's not about party politics. It's about the whole trust in the whole democratic system eroding.
If Barry wants to cross to the Greens, would you welcome
I don't think Barry does.
It's never going to happen, Paddy.
Just checking, you are wearing a green badge. Well, it's a yellow badge.
Quite seriously, though, I think you learn as a politician that you have to take responsibility for decisions you make. And the idea that this is on an officer, Morgan McSweeney, no matter how powerful he is for the birds. This is on Keir Starmer.
Let me launch another line on you. Keir Starmer is a well-meaning lawyer who fought against injustice for his career and has tried hard to catch criminals in our country. He's made a mistake.
Yes.
Hello, this is what happens in life. Arlene, you made one.
Yeah.
I haven't got time to go into it now. But just can I put it this way to you? He did call out...
It is brutal.
Or mine. I haven't got time to go into mine. But I'm just saying, can we also say that what he's done is he called Peter Mandelson, that he betrayed Britain.
Yes.
So he has tried as Prime Minister to own the Labour catastrophe. Do we give him credit for saying that? And do you agree it's as serious as that? Is it up there with Profumo?
I do think it's very serious, and not just for the Prime Minister or indeed his Chief of Staff. I think it's very serious for politics in general, because the only thing people are speaking about at the moment is Peter Mandelson and trust in politics, and I think that's bad for everybody here sitting on this panel.
I think what's got to happen now is there has to be a police investigation about exactly what Mandelson gave away as what were state secrets and confidential information, and that goes to the heart of trust in politics.
I think that's right. I'd love to add something more, but actually I think this is above politics. I think it's about making sure we're protecting our democratic institutions.
Nick, can I ask you to sum up this very tumultuous day? It does seem to have been a moment of surprising anger. Not surprising to those of us who've been following, but the political class seem to have surprised themselves.
Well, Keir Starmer's authority and his position as Prime Minister has been substantially weakened today, partly because there were difficulties in the Commons, but mainly because it crystallised a feeling that he showed very, very poor judgment in this appointment. And what you saw from those stony faces, not just amongst backbenchers, amongst ministers, you just saw them standing there, is you thought, this is clearly very, very difficult, and you wonder whether he can recover his authority from today.
Thank you all very much indeed for joining us again. You're very regular friends of our viewers here on Newsnight. Thank you very much indeed.